that.
Well, if you fly someone out,
Oh man, why you have to bring this one?
well, I'm just saying, because there's been a conversation about this too as well. Hey, if you pay for the flight and fly someone out and fly them back, that there is the expectation of sex.
I think that truthfully, if you get to the point of setting up something, especially where travel is required, there should be communication ready to know kind of what's going down.
Not just assumptions.
Not assumptions. There shouldn't be no assumptions.
Yeah, so it's MVP with Juxtaposed, and we got my co-host today, K
Aries.
Styles,
And Aries.
and a special guest, Aries. Say what's up, Aries. Yeah, good old yawn. All right. So I was, scrolling the TikToks or whatnot.
Do you mean the band media?
The band media where we're not supposed to be at. By the way, I tried to update today, and you can't. So
You can't update the
no. It said the US has a hold on this thing.
Oh, wow.
Took a screenshot so everybody can see. But I'm
wow.
dang, it's serious.
It's coming.
Because I would say, hey, let me update it before the ban
Goes into
is
effect.
official, right?
Well,
Because
technically it went into effect on January 19th. So
we got 72 day.
Yeah, we got to pause on it. We got to hold on.
Yeah, that's what it says that too. We got to pause. So anyway,
Interesting.
Scroll on there and came across this trend of like soft guy era.
What is that?
And I was like, what is this? This is intriguing. So basically, there's fellas out here that, they have standards. And they are expressing their standards now.
Please explain. Because I feel like you should always have standards. This is...
Yeah, but I think it started off as a joke. But it's a back and forth going between males and females now at this point. But the guys are like, hey, I was telling this girl I was dating that I need to get my hair cut, and she did not offer to pay for it. So he's cutting the girl off because he's in the soft guy era.
First of all, that's ridiculous. What are we talking about?
They're expecting to be taken out on dates. So I'm like, okay, I want to dissect this and see if any of it makes sense. But first, I want to know, Styles.
Yeah, I'm here.
Have you heard of this before?
The only time I've heard about this is literally in the discussion of this episode. I've never heard of this before because I was just like, we've been inundated with all of these ideas and stuff that the internet has gone wild with, that you get to the point where you're like, I don't even want to know what the new trend is. So yeah, I've heard about it, but I still am lost because some of the things that they're saying, I feel like should have existed anyway. But
well, I mean, I don't know necessarily if women are going to go around paying for guys' haircuts.
Why not?
I don't know, because this is a whole thing where it's like, oh, you got to pay for her nails and get her hair done.
See, I think there's an interesting place where we've created these standards on what people should do in order to, be in a relationship. And, you see people on the internet saying that they're not dating somebody unless they're making $1 million a year. And you're just like, do you even know what $1 million a year looks like? Like, what are we talking about here? So I think this sounds like a little bit like that. And it's just the male side of it.
Well, let's get a little deeper because, jokes aside, there is some weight to it, right? So not only is it another side where people like guys are making jokes about, getting my hair did and, complimenting me on my outfits and stuff like that. But there's also they're being encouraged to express their emotions, right? Prioritize empathy and sensitivity and challenge traditional notions of toxic masculinity. So it's basically like, okay, you don't have to be tough all the time. You should be allowed to be soft,
a human
apparently.
being, like with feelings
or gentle. So, what are your thoughts on the idea that guys have to be tough all the time.
I don't think that's a real thing. And honestly, if you realize, like, I've been around some people that you consider pretty, tough, or, and it's not, that's not their MO. Most times they don't necessarily want that. They don't want that energy around them, but it's going back to like hunter-gatherer times where your goal was to literally protect the tribe, right? So we're not in that energy anymore. You don't go outside and have, half your team taken out by a dinosaur. So we don't need it. It's not, in my mind, it's not a requirement to be, gang banging on bacon all day. That's just, it's like,
Okay.
you woke up angry? Oh, you gang banging on bacon?
Okay.
So
Okay.
I'll make sure I give credit to the people who I heard it from, because I don't want no problems.
Because
But
he'll throw you under the bus.
yeah.
For sure.
But I think that's the thing. I think there's a lot of stereotypes that, it's funny because now that we kind of know way more about what's going on and we have more access to stuff, I feel like we're still stuck in what feels like medieval times with 21st century technology. Because some of the stuff and the ideals I feel are made up of stuff that has been in place for such a long time. It's a thing. I mean, back in the day, you can marry somebody unless you brought some cows or some, like there was a trade for it. So it's
Or
kind
like
of
the kingdom needs to be.
the work to be like, well, why is this a thing?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I guess that's what we're doing right here with this soft guy thing, because I went on a whole diatribe about this, because I think it's a stereotype that's ridiculous. No person doesn't have feelings. So if you have feelings, you should not be in a place where you cannot express them.
Well, but you've been aware of, like, in society where men are not supposed to express that, right?
And that's the reason why,
which comes off as soft or emotional.
But that's the reason why the suicide rate is so high with men.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're in a space where you're getting pressure from everybody. You got to hold everything together. You got to hold everything down. And people are like, man up.
Well, I seen some type of meme, or I don't know if it's Instagram or something, and the guy went on a date with a woman, and he really told her all his problems. Like, he expressed his emotions and the things that he was feeling, which were like, kind of deep. And she was like, bro, I didn't need all of that. I just wanted to get some hamburgers and fries.
Because let's be real. If you just met somebody and somebody started giving you
the spiel,
the world, the weight of the world that they have on their shoulders, do you really want all of that at the beginning? Like, have you ever been, maybe this is a me thing, but have you ever been anywhere like, you see somebody be like, hey man, how's it going? Like, you're just passing, there's a pleasantry, and they're like, yeah, well, my wife cheated on me, and I'm like,
whoa,
sir, I was saying hello. I was passing. I didn't need all that information. Have you ever had that experience?
Yes.
How uncomfortable is that?
Usually I'm just saying, hey, just to be polite. I don't, or I say, hey, what's going on? That's my usual, like, yo, what's up? What's going on?
And you know what? It's about the appropriateness of the place. And if you just met somebody and now you're stuck with them for 90 minutes for dinner, do you want to hear everything about that? That doesn't sound like a fun thing, because it sounds like going forward, all I'm going to hear from you is the woes. I don't need your woes too.
So you're saying that
I think he was wrong.
So you think he was wrong?
I think he was wrong.
So you think there is I don't want to say limit, but there's a time and place for you to show emotions.
Yeah, I think there's a place. I mean, I think it's after you've developed rapport.
Okay.
Once the rapport is built, it's a different conversation when like, hey, this is a thing. But also, nobody wants to hear you complain about how hard life is all the time.
Right.
Nobody does. Do you? I mean, if I feel like if I came to you all the time, you'd be like, yo, man, this man's down in my spirit.
Every time you're sucking the energy out the room.
So, I think it's a little bit of that. Anyway, we went off topic. Continue with your. I apologize.
Well, no. This is a part of it, because if you have to be a tough guy in this world, and you're saying, hey, you should automatically be able to, have emotion, empathy, and be sensitive. I'm like, I understand that, but I do think there is a level where you have to be sure when you show it, right? And I think the soft guy era is supposed to be, you're like that all the time. Like, you're literally tapping into it all the time. And I think that it's probably not going to be a good look, because there is a level of like, hey, if we're out and I don't know, someone might, bring some negative energy to the group, what you gonna say? Oh, I'm in my soft guy era.
I think that this is why this is similar to when they label certain things. They're like, you remember, I feel like we've been inundated with political things, but when they were like defund the police, right?
Okay.
That was a catchy thing for a solution that could actually be helpful if it was done correctly. But all you heard was the words. And I feel like in this case, what we're having is the soft guy era is just another one of those branding things that now we're saying this and you're like, this just sounds like an emotionally intelligent individual knowing when to deploy, I would say, boundaries and I say emotional intelligence. I don't see it as a thing. I feel like I should be able to be direct. I should be able to have my feelings and say, hey, I don't like this. I shouldn't be required to live in a space where I can't speak on how I feel. Mm. And I think that's the essence of this soft guy era thing, but from my understanding.
So it's okay to have the expectation. Well, I feel like expectation is a strong word, but bear with me. The expectation, like, hey, if, I need my, the fresh shape up, that old girl should be offering to pay for
it. You know what the funny thing about that too is? I feel like this is a deliberate attempt to kind of poke at the conversation about equality.
Yeah.
And I think that, I don't know if it's necessarily the right way. Because if someone slaps you, is slapping them back the definitive right way? Hold on,
where are you going with this?
I'm just saying, like, imagine Will Smith and Chris Rock, right?
Okay.
If Chris Rock had slapped him back,
yes,
as a man, you feel like, you got to get something back for this, right?
My
but
mama,
is that the right way?
My mama always told me, someone hit you, you got to hit him back.
And I agree. What. So did my aunt said the same thing. But at the same time, is that right though?
I think yes.
I don't think it's right. I don't say it's right.
You have to, even if it's just a poke in the, you gotta put your hands on them, like.
But I say all that to say.
Okay, sorry.
We're going all. Clearly, we haven't done this in a while, so we're all over the place. But at the core of this, there's a lot of expectations of what should and shouldn't happen, and so like when you start saying like, well, she should pay for this. Because we've been hearing a narrative for a long time that men have to pay for stuff. Guys are like, well, if there's equality, then you got to pay too. Yeah. And truthfully, I feel like in real relationships, these divides that we focus on are not important. Because if you are with your significant other and you're splitting stuff, oh God, as much as I don't like going into this conversation, and you're splitting stuff 50-50.
Okay.
That's your prerogative, bro. It doesn't matter what everybody says, but there are people who said, I will never do that. I will make all my own and then have the guy pay for everything. And I'm like, that's cool. So let me, we're seeing in society where, there are a lot of women, and I won't speak in Black society specifically because I feel like we hear a lot of this narrative in Black culture.
Okay.
There are a lot of these situations where the women are making more than the men. So you're going to look at the situation
more educated too.
Yeah, and you look at the situation and say, okay, well, this person is a man. He's supposed to be a man. The idea of him being a man is he provides, blah blah blah. Right? Okay, cool. So this man makes less meat. Yeah, I don't know about that. he makes less than you, and so that means that everything he makes should go to the bills, and then one money that you make more.
It's her money.
It's her money.
Yeah.
And to me, that's probably a contributor to the high divorce rates. Because if you're in a partnership with somebody and we're both, let's use tug of war as an example, and we're fighting the world that's pulling us direction, and I'm pulling this way and you're pulling that way, we're going to get screwed by life. So I think that's what I'm saying. All of these stuff, I don't like it because I feel like all we're doing is creating these buzzworthy, and honestly, it's kind of hypocritical because now we're talking about it, but still,
yes,
I think it creates these buzzworthy things that people think are, oh yeah, this is what it means to be a man, a woman, all of these things, and nobody's stopping and saying, what does this really mean? But
I think there's also a part of it, there's the joking part of it with the whole paying for stuff and da-da-da-da. But then there's another level of, I think when you say soft guy era is tapping into taking better care of yourself. So like, for example, hey, I'm in my soft guy era, I'm going to go get a massage, right? As a guy, I personally don't go get massages. I feel like I should. I just don't. I don't. I'm not a pampering myself kind of person, right?
But why?
I just wasn't raised like that. I wasn't raised to pamper myself.
And this goes back into the other. I'm sorry, we're getting real deep on this one, but this goes back into a lot of the stereotypes. It's the stereotypes of like, I'm starting to see my friends now do a better job of taking care of themselves, which means like going to the doctor, going to therapy, things like that, because we're realizing that like, bro, we're human. We have issues. We have things. This stuff, a lot of times it was like, back in the day, oh, you're soft if you go to the doctor. I'm like, my guy, they're there for a reason. Are you soft if you get oil change? No, just ride the car until the engine blows up, right? Like, it's some of those things that I feel like we don't challenge those stereotypes. And I get that the soft guy era, well, the negative parts, because I think we should separate it into two.
There's a separation. Yeah.
I think the negative parts of like, oh, well, she needs to pay. I'm all for people having their standards. Let's stop making it buzzworthy for the internet, right? Like, if you have your standard, you say, I want to be with somebody that's a partner. So sometimes I don't have it, they're going to have me down. Nobody's upset about the idea of like, yo, if you're going out and, somebody's like, hey, here's money to go out. Or here's it. Because if you do that for people, you would love to get it done for yourself. I mean, I can't think of anybody, you're dating somebody and they're like, here's some money. You're like, no, I'm a man. I can't take money from you. Like you're not going to.
There are some men like that. Like I went out with a group of people. They call it a 2-man at this point. Have you heard of this?
I don't think you should use that based on the comments that academics have made recently. So I'll leave.
We're not even going to go.
I'll leave it alone. Just leave it alone.
A double date. There we go. Double date.
The 2-man sounds crazy.
And one of my homies got upset because the girl wanted to pay.
Why?
And he was like, nah, I got it. And she would not let him pay. And she kind of forced her wallet onto the table to pay.
I mean.
And so there are guys who like, and I don't know if it's I want to feel like a strong person, but it might just be like, hey, I want to, take care of you and show you a good time and like pay for everything. But there are people out there who feel like they should pay for everything. And there are guys out there who's like, yo, if you let her pay, you are a punk or something, or like something's wrong with you.
The thing is, once again, we have to start, especially as men, start questioning some of these stereotypes. Because I've been in those situations myself where I'm like, no, I'll pay it. Oh, no, I'll pay it. And literally, if she pays and you guys hang out more than once, all right, I'll get the next one. Because realistically, that you're spending time together. And truthfully, nobody wants to get to this place where you're spending time together and the money is a problem, right? Like I remember going out like with people at one point and they would be like, oh, we got to meticulously split the bill and figure out how much each person spent. It's like, I make enough money to the point where I'm like, just split it in half. Let's call it a day,
let's call it a day.
Because it's just like, I want the time that I spend with people to be frictionless. I want it to be smooth. So if, I'm out with somebody and they want to pay, okay, cool. But I got like, if they're adamant, you got this one. All right, cool. I got the next one. Also, I think there's a space of this too, which goes back to these stereotypes where when men pay for stuff for women, they think that automatically because you pay means you're entitled to sex or you're entitled to something. And so from that aspect, I can understand women wanting to be like, well, no, I want to separate myself from that and I pay to level that playing field so there's not an assumption there, which is a legitimate thing and I can understand, but it doesn't, how does that equal someone being a punk because you did that? I'm like, you're a punk if somebody comes and takes your stuff and you don't do anything about it. Let's be very real about what that means, right?
Okay.
Like, and it's not everybody's built for that, right? Somebody comes take your stuff. Hey. It is what it is, right? Like, either you handle it one way or you're not. Some people don't want to crash out and do whatever. So
yeah,
that's the thing. But we got to realize that this whole conversation is about challenging stereotypes. And I feel like there's a lot of stereotypes, especially in dating and relationships, that is made worse by podcasts and social media that just say things to make, the Zuckerbergs of the world happy with their algorithms. So,
well, I mean, because this whole soft guy era was in response to a woman. I forget her name. Really don't care to know her name, to be honest with you. But she was going on TikTok basically telling women to use men for money and like, yeah, make him do this, make him do that, and just pretty toxic, right?
I mean,
just completely like just.
Isn't that the city girl era thing? Like, isn't that what the city girl's all about?
I mean, where are they now?
I mean, one was dating Diddy, and the other one, I mean, she doing all right.
She doing all right, but I don't really hear too much music from them. But no, so yes, people do certain things for the algorithm, but this soft guy era is kind of like in response to that. At least the joking part of it, but like, and you say let's separate it, right? There's a joking part of it where they're just like, well, if she's gonna, and she was serious though. She was serious about using up the guy for all his resources, basically.
Yeah.
And so, and the guys were just like, okay, well, we're just gonna troll you, and da. But I do think there is some merit for it because, for example, the mental health that you brought up. I think that if you're saying, hey, I'm in my soft guy era, I think there is some level of therapy that you can invest in or whatever it is to, get your mental health to where it needs to be. Yeah. Or like to go back to the pampering, massaging stuff. Like, guys get their nails done nowadays.
I mean, that's something that's always happened. I think that it was categorized as, I think not meta, what was it?
Metrosexual?
Metrosexual, yeah. Like, so that's always the thing. I mean, that's what I said. We have to start challenging these stereotypes. And it's funny because as you're talking, it made me think of the fact that this is the equivalent of the Scrubs and Pigeons remixes. This is actually what it is. And that's what I'm saying. We've been in a space where this has been happening for a long time. It just feels like it's happening a lot more now because of the internet. It's in your face all the time now. So
the Scrubs and the Pigeons was a great time to be alive.
Listen, I think that was
just. I was not expecting the Pigeons.
I know that, and that was their only song. That was like the only song, and it was needed.
Sometimes things do warrant a response.
You needed a balance, bro.
And I think this is the soft guy era is an example of guys like, hey, we're gonna troll this lady, but on the opposite side of that, women are actually getting upset about it though. Because they're like, what? Like, why would we do that? Da, 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 da. Like, so there was a lot of back and forth, going on with it.
And I think we had another one planned where we're going to have a conversation. And I have some people that I think would be a good addition to this because I think that what we're seeing with a lot of people's opinions and some of this stuff is basically the loud minority, because I don't think that a lot of people that I have interacted with buy into some of these things. Like, I don't think they buy into some of the just vitriol is what I call it, that of the internet, right? Like, oh, you have to do this and I have to. Yeah. It's just some of the things that's so crazy. It's like, somebody who clearly didn't have pretty privilege talking about she entitled to a man that makes $500,000 a year. I'm like,
that's an interesting way to call somebody ugly.
I'm trying to be politically.
Doesn't have
no. But
that obviously doesn't have pretty privilege.
So
I think I feel a little bit more disrespected that you talk to me like that. Just call me unattractive or something.
No. Because there is pretty privilege is a thing.
Yes, it is.
And I think that, to go off topic, I don't know if you saw the whole Joy Taylor, Skip Bayless thing.
Yes, I did.
And people were upset about that. And I'm like, I get it. I get why you'd be upset, because you feel like she's gotten somewhere without doing work to get there. She definitely did work to get there, because regardless, if she was just sleeping around to get there, it's like, where's Tila Tequila, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? So she did the work, but they're saying that like she didn't do that, and I'm like, she has pretty privilege. She can say, like, on her podcast with Taylor Rooks, they're talking about they don't date men that don't have money, blah blah blah, and I'm like, pretty privilege. Okay. And we just like we have stereotypes of like rich rich men and young women, right? Like
Yeah.
the stereotypes exist, and I know that we've gotten to a point with like the empowerment movement, and we feel like some of those things shouldn't be the case, but there didn't stop these things from happening. Like they were happening all the time. Like people are doing things to get ahead, and I can't fault her. First of all, this is all alleged because we haven't. I mean, the person who put out the thing, she sounded like a hater.
I mean,
the lawsuit sounded like a hater, but I'm not. For the record, sounds like all of this stuff is alleged. I don't want to take or diminish her experience. I just said it sounded like she threw Joy in there because she didn't like Joy.
Kind of just a straight.
It was just like, yeah, I mean, I understand the Skip Bayless thing, but you just throw Joy in there too. Like, but going back to the end of it, I feel like there's a space where, and this is some of the stuff that, you know, Kevin Samuels was talking about that got a lot of flack for, which I'm not trying to go down that red pill at all, but it's like, just like those women who have that pretty privilege have access to men who have a lot of money, we've kind of skewed the lines now because people feel like, oh, well, I'm a 10. And I'm like,
everybody's a 10.
You're not.
Everybody's a 10.
You're not a 10. I'm not a 10. I know I'm not a 10. But as men from a very early age, we were taught from society that you either had to be rich, fit, or very talented. And honestly, the very talented doesn't really matter as much as the first two.
Yeah. You gotta be extremely attractive or have some money or something.
So,
some type of like fame or like,
because there's a lot of ugly dudes with money that are cleaning up. So I think that's where, you know, and I understand why we are where we are. For a very long time, women were forced to be, the same thing, you had to be attractive. Right? Like it was all about looks. It was never about intelligence. It was never about your ability. And we're now getting to the point where now it's also rich because a lot of women have money. A lot of women are in better spaces than men were a lot of times. So now it's like, well, we want to be in a different side. So I get why we are where we are, but I think we're in a space where we need to talk to each other and also amongst each other. Like, you know, men as well need to do a better job of communicating with each other and say, hey, this is a thing. This is where we're at. You don't have to be hard all the time. You don't have to be, because that honestly, if you look at a lot of the issues that we see with, like, think about people in the streets. Oh, you stepped on my shoes. And then you're going to go to jail over that? It's like, yo, $60, bro. At most expensive, you paid $500. Bro, my bad. What's that going to do?
That's just crazy to me. $500 is just for shoes.
I mean, people do it.
I know they do, but I can't do it. 100, 150. That's probably like where I cut it off.
But my thing is, people place their priority on certain things. Like, for example, assuming that because I operate this way, that like if you do something to me, I'm not gonna do something, or I gotta do something to you in order for you to understand that like I don't play around. Like I don't. All of that is what are we doing? A lot of communication fixes a lot of the problems that we have.
Well, I think that's part of the soft guy thing is like, which I hate to call it that because it should be just standard like emotional intelligence, like you said, but it is tapping into expressing yourself. But then I've been in situations where like I think I've expressed myself too much.
Possibly.
And you almost come off like a whiny bitch. So I'm like, like, yo, like, what's the balance there? You know what I mean?
But there's a balance. If you think about it, just like you don't want to get on the elevator with somebody and them tell you their whole life story. It's like you have to have a balance, and you also have to know who to go to for certain things. I think you need to, like I said this multiple times on these podcasts, you need to know who's in your close friends bucket, who's in your acquaintances bucket, who's in your coworkers but kind of close bucket. Like you need to have those delineations, because if you don't do that, you end up in a space where you go to somebody and you're providing them, or you're expecting from them something that they're not able to provide because of the bucket that they're in.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I think that it is something that has to be balanced. But overall, I'm not mad at the soft guy era thing. I think it's hilarious. I mean, you know, sometimes I do want the door open for me. You know, I do want my chair pulled out. I do want, you know, hey, you know what? Boo, bae, here's some money. Go ahead and you know what I'm saying. Get some protein from your nearest GNC because I know how you like to work on your muscles. Like I'm not mad at a little like what's that Usher song?
Which one?
The one we like trading places or something like that.
Oh.
I may have that in the back.
I thought you were going, you got it bad. I'm like, what are we talking about here?
No. The one, it's a smooth song. He's just like, you know, having fun with the song. But like, yeah, I mean, I'm not saying this has to be all the time. But I think guys do appreciate a little bit of love. And we're not just talking about sex love. Yeah. Because I think some women think, hey, just throw him some sex. And that's all the love he needs.
Well, there's two things. The first thing I want to say is there's this age-old statements: "Do unto others as you want to do want done unto yourself."
Yeah.
And I think that if we start approaching everything like that, then it's a whole different conversation, right? I do think there's some conversation about like understanding your person, so you're not expecting that they'll do it exactly the way you would but like,
okay,
do unto others. If you're you get stuff from people all the time, give them some stuff, right? But the second thing, you were talking about
What'd I say?
The whole Usher thing is hilarious.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I lost my second train of thought now.
But like open the car door, open the chair, open the door to the restaurant. Like,
just be courteous, bro.
Okay, that's what you're getting.
Just be courteous. I just like, and you know what's funny? I was walking I was at my day job, walking into the office, and I saw, not in the office, like the main entranceway.
Okay.
And a woman was coming, and I opened the door, and she smiled and said, "Thank you." And I'm like, that was enough, right? Like that, I didn't need to. I wasn't trying to talk to her. But it's just like, we're human beings in a space where, especially now, where we're so divided, we're so, like everybody's so charged. Just be nice to people, bro.
Okay.
Just be nice. And the crazy thing is, if you're dating somebody, I'm assuming even if you're not doing it with intention, you're spending time with somebody. Treat that person better. Like, and don't set like uncommunicated expectations. Probably should be a whole nother segment of this, because I think that's something that people do a lot of times. I remember one time I was going to the movies way back in the day, and with this young lady, as MVP says, and I was going to, I asked her out, and I was about to get the ticket. She's like, "You're getting the tickets for me, right?" And I'm like, "You've just ruined the opportunity for me to do something for you because you were demanding that I got the tickets." No, I got it. No, I got it. But you've now removed the ability for me to do something nice for you, because you now have made a demand on something that I was already going to do. Mm-hmm. I understand what I always try to be very empathetic, because if you're dealing with ain't shit dudes all the time, he might go up to the thing and you're gonna come in, right?
Yeah.
I just it's not the type of person I've used. I will bet you're not that type of person either. I just don't have those people around me, and so I'm not used to when people respond to that energy, because I'm not giving that energy.
Well, let me ask you a question, because it popped in my mind. How do you feel about going on this date and that person forgot, and if you not watching this, I'm doing quotes, forgot their wallet?
I mean, once again, that's fine if we're not like, if we're doing this like as a collective, like we're doing this more than once, like I think let's
make it harder. First date,
they forgot their wallet. I mean, it's fine.
Oh, I just didn't bring it with me.
Honestly, I prefer that than you tell me you have to pay for everything. Like I prefer like, "Oh shit, I forgot it." All right, cool, that's fine. I got you.
Okay.
I was probably gonna get you anyway.
Yeah, right. So the reason why I'm asking that, because isn't there a level of like, when we're talking about expectations, that you didn't expect that you would need your wallet, so you didn't bring it?
I mean, that's ridiculous, because we're adults, and if we're going out somewhere that has drinks, you need to get ID'd. And so why would you not bring it?
Maybe you just have your ID.
That's fine.
And that's it.
I mean, how are you getting home if like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like there's a safety component to this that you should be considering more than like whether or not I'll pay for it.
So you don't get no credit cards, you don't get no cash.
You're just out here like, you know, if it goes really bad, how are you getting home? You know, like,
what if this date don't work?
I think that, but this is the conversations that I feel like people need to be having beforehand, because I do think that there is an uncommunicated expectation that you're going to pay for as a man, you're going to pay for the date, right? I think the flip side of that, as I mentioned earlier, is that there's a communicated expectation from a lot of men that because you did that, you're entitled to sex or something happening. And a lot of times people don't want to do that. And so then, then the dynamics get a little, weird.
Part of the soft guy era is, hey.
Yeah, her hair is everywhere.
Just because, the girl's taking him out, right? Because it's soft guy era. Just because you're taking me out doesn't mean I'm that kind of guy who's just going to put out on the first date.
And that should be fine.
I don't think guys can say that.
Absolutely can. Absolutely.
It doesn't even, like, me just saying it sounds like, what? What are you talking? Even if it's true, right? I don't think you can just say it.
I mean, it depends on how you say it. If you're saying it pretentious.
Well, if we're saying the flip, right? Because the soft guy era is supposed to be the flip of whatever women do, right?
Yes.
So women be like, hey, just so you know, we not having sex tonight.
I would. See,
so as a guy, you tell a girl or a young lady, hey, just so you know, you ain't getting no D tonight.
Funny thing is, I think if you do that right, it's probably a funny moment.
Funny?
100%. That's like how the young kids. That's some riz right there. Like, cause you be like, hey, yo, I don't do this on the first night. Just so you know.
Just so you know, I
and
don't do
then they'll be
this.
like, oh wait, what do you mean? Like, why are you assuming that? I'm letting you know. This is just so you expect it. And that's a funny moment. I think that's the thing. I think a lot of this stuff is communication and lack and improper communication skills. Because that would be a. I think unless it's just one of those moments where the woman feels like you're being pretentious or you're coming off pretentious. In most cases, if there's interest there, you'd be like, "Oh, wait, what do you mean?" Right? Like that creates a conversation.
Well, then that makes me think if you look a certain type of way, you probably can't say that because it might be taken as like conceited. There we go.
I think it's all about delivery. Because if you came to them like, if you said like, for example, if that was said at the point of payment, and she adamant about paying, right? Mm-hmm. And you said that, it's like, what? Either the date's going well.
That's a joke.
Either it's going well or it's not going well. And, no matter how well it's going, if the dynamics are terrible and you say something that's off-putting, then it's going to go, right? Like, but I think there's ways to deliver that in a way that would actually be funny. And you'd be like, oh, wait, what the hell? I see where your mind is. And it could go in a whole different conversation, right? Mm-hmm. So men should actually absolutely be able to say that. Just know that you have to deliver it in a way that's not like, I would say full of yourself. I don't think it has to do anything with how you look. It just has to do with how you deliver and how you've been moving the whole date. Because if you're off-putting and you realize it's not going right, telling a joke or about
being
anything,
a jerk the whole date,
it's not gonna work. So, but yeah,
because like when it was done to me, I've always felt some type of way about it because I'm like, yo, why do you think like that's the only reason why I'm here, or why did you feel like you had to like?
But you missed an opportunity.
Put me in a place.
But you missed an opportunity there.
What you mean?
You should be like, well, why would you assume that? I listen. I don't do this on the first date. Mm-hmm. And you'd be like, then you change the dynamics on them, and they're like, wait, what do you mean? Because here's the problem. I remember what I was gonna say. The problem with a lot of these things is that there's been a narrative that men are simple.
That is a narrative that's been building in. Men are very simple. Food and sex, bro.
And
that's what they're saying.
Truthfully, that has led to the misconceptions of a lot of men, which I think goes into the soft guy era, because having demands automatically now you're being soft. I'm like, no, I'm not just going to. I value my time. Can't get that back.
Okay.
I value who I spend that time with. So if I'm spending time with somebody that doesn't match, I'm not just going to be like, oh, well, you're pretty, so I'm going to spend time with you and then waste my time and my money. Right? Because those are two things. Money you could get back, but time you can't. So I believe in having your standards. I don't believe in wrapping your standards in a perfectly, tied up bow that calls soft guy era. And now all of a sudden, I don't believe in that. But like, I believe in having your standards. And your standards should be your standards. And honestly, if you're being very real, your standards should change as you elevate.
One dude was like, hey, I was telling whatever girl he was dating that, he was getting off the plane and about to head, to wherever he has to go when he gets off the plane. And he's like, she had the nerve to not offer to pay for my Uber. Soft guy era.
As ridiculous as it sounds like when we hear other, women say stuff like that, I think it's just ridiculous. I think we've just gotten ridiculous. At this point, all of this stuff has just gotten very ridiculous. And we need to stop. We need to stop. What? Are you coming? Listen, are you a high-end escort? Because if you're a high-end escort, they're supposed to pay for your transport. What do we, outside of that, no one should be expecting anybody to do any of these stuff just because you are a man, because you're a woman. Like, because if you start going down the expectation route, then you can't be mad that someone expects sex. You can't be mad that someone expects that you're going to do this thing, because we've opened up the communicate and say what you want and move from that.
Well, if you fly someone out.
Oh man, why you have to bring this one?
Well, I'm just saying, because there's been a conversation about this too as well. Hey, if you pay for the flight and fly someone out and fly them back, that there is the expectation of sex.
I think that, truthfully, if you get to the point of setting up something, especially where travel is required, there should be communication ready to know kind of what's going down.
Not just assumptions.
Not assumptions. There shouldn't be no assumptions. And it's so funny because, like, I remember in one situation, somebody I was messing with literally drove out here. I didn't pay anything.
Okay.
And it wasn't like she was expecting something, right?
She was or wasn't?
Yeah, she was.
Okay.
And it wasn't like I had nothing to do with bringing her out here. It was just we came, we hung out, and that was it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that what we will realize is, like, as I said before, there's a lot of the loud minority happening here, because it's the people who are saying stuff to trend on the algorithm and stuff like that. That we're hearing most of the stuff from. Because what are we talking about here? Like, we're human beings and we're existing in a world that's already contentious and stressful. Like, have a good time and, communicate. Don't have somebody come there and then you lock them in a room and you're trying to, don't do that shit. Like, why are you doing that? Like, just, if you don't know that's where it wants to go, you haven't communicated that, don't fly that person out.
I think there's a level of like, you don't want to mess up the move by saying too much.
If you are spending money to fly somebody out, you should already have communicated, at least know where that's going.
See, this got me going into there's this debate about, like, how much communication should you do before you talk yourself out of the box.
I think that,
and I'm intrigued. And one example was like, I don't know if you saw the movie Hancock with Will Smith, but he's supposed to be like doing this whole changing his image to be like a good superhero. And there's literally bullets and bombs blowing up. And he goes to save this woman and he's like, hey, may I touch you? And she's like, yo, bro, if you don't just save me already. I think that's a great example of communicating too much.
Well, no, but I mean, at this point, it's funny because that's a foreshadowing of kind of the world that we're in now, where you kind of have to make sure you're covered at all points because you don't want to be in a place. You also want to be considerate of other people's things. You don't want to jump in and grab somebody in a way that, I know we're talking about Hancock, but this is like, you don't want to. Yeah. But I don't think that there's a space where you shouldn't be able to be very direct. Honestly, I feel like the best relationship I've had, even to the one that I'm, like in right now, is like it was forged on just direct conversation, like direct. Hey, this is what I'm about. This is what I'm trying to do. Blah blah blah. And she was like, yeah.
What happened to the romanticizing the romantic books where he pushes her up on the wall?
I feel like that direct, because we have gotten to a place, and we can go on for this forever, so we probably should wrap this up. But I feel like we've gotten to a place in society where we are not sure where to go at all times. At all times.
Okay.
So as a result, what we need to do is just be very direct. Hey, this is what I'm about. And either the person's into that or they're not. And if they're not, move on. Right? Like, and then you can have the moments of like
romanticizing or romantic.
Yeah. Or you can have the romantic moments. I don't know. The word romanticizing didn't sound
I wanted to say romanticizing, so I don't know why.
It works, but it doesn't sound weird.
We listen, but we don't judge.
Yeah, I know. But I feel like once you have created a safe baseline, then you can expand on that in other ways.
Mhm.
But the safe baseline has to be, it's like, the safe word, like you need to have those,
Pineapples.
you need to have that in order to know that one, you're in a respectable place,
Okay.
because you never want to be in a place where you're going too far with somebody, you're over people's boundaries, right? Like those need to be clear. And I think a lot of those things are communicated, and once communicated, create the environment for the romance, and it creates the environment for you to have that connection with somebody. So
Yeah, because I don't trust it anymore. That whole pushing people up on the wall, that's harassment. Like, oh, he kissed me. I'm like, I don't know, bro. Like,
but
people gotta be careful out here, because
it's just, yes, and I think that is so interesting, because I feel like we're in a space where there's so much mixed signals, because you hear stuff that's like super, like, oh, if you do this, you're a toxic male.
yes,
And then you hear the same thing, like, oh, men are not as masculine as they used to be.
they're not walking up on us. They're
and
not.
I'm just like, I'm not going to walk up to you in the street when you literally spend forever calling me thirsty, because I'm not doing it. I don't want to do it. So
I think that's another level of the soft guy era thing. It's like, yo, like, guys are not doing the approaching thing anymore, unless they know without a shot. Like, she gives him the nod or something like that, or like,
well, you know what's funny? Have you ever? You've had women? Have you ever? Oh, I'm pretty sure you have. Have women come up to you and talk to you?
yeah,
Well, women that you
found attractive.
yes, yeah. I wanted to be clarified, because when it happens the other way, you don't like it. And nobody likes that.
But I've had women come up to me and not be attractive, and I have to hit them with I got a girlfriend, and I don't.
Damn.
So it does. It's so weird, right?
It's a
Because
different thing.
You don't expect women to do it,
right? But when it happens, how do you feel? If it's somebody you're attracted, you find attractive.
I feel like the man.
That's what I'm saying. So this is a message.
Like, I gotta be honest and be transparent. I feel like the man.
This is a message to the woman who sees this guy and doesn't really feel.
I feel like, oh, like, am I smelling good today?
And maybe this is
what's going on?
maybe this is the soft guy thing. If you see a guy you're interested in, say what's up. You don't gotta drop a line, because nobody.
Yeah, the line thing.
The lines are corny. Like, I don't want to. Like, hey, how's it going? I guarantee you probably have a better experience, right? And then I know that that's like changing the dynamics, because men are supposed to be the one that's hollering. But like right now in this world, the reason why men don't feel comfortable doing that a lot of times is because we've been inundated with a lot of social media stuff that says that men should not do this and men shouldn't be this. And if you do this as a man, you are this. And
because men can't be in their soft guy era either. Like, that's a problem.
I'm very happy, and I pray to God I never end up in the dating pool again, because they keep saying it has peace in it.
Bro, you got out at the right time,
oh man, it was tough. It was tough.
I should have saw the writings on the wall, but
it was just like, I
just missed that one, man.
It's a tough time, and I understand. I think at the core we need this is why I said the communication is important, because I think we're lacking on community, and we're lacking on a lot of that stuff that we need. So in conclusion, I think the soft guy era tag is bullshit.
Okay.
I do think there's some errors where we need to. There's not errors. There's some points where we need to take. Yeah, this is an important thing. Learn how to communicate. Have demands, not demands. Have standards. Don't make demands. And just be a better human being. Mm-hmm. Like, just do those things. Look, she agrees.
Well, human being. And I was thinking, like, the whole, like, I used the word pampering, but like taking care of yourself, right? I think that's important, which is something that, I've been working on. Which when I say that, I mean like, getting, massages, or, getting some therapy, or even having sessions where you get the ability to kind of get your emotions out and stuff like that. Because one thing you said earlier, which was about the rate of men committing
suicide.
Yeah, I was like, that's a real deep thing. That's a real thing, because they feel like they have to hold everything inside. So I do believe in tapping into your emotions, and obviously you can't express it to everybody, right?
That's what I'm saying.
Like, you got to know your people or find your people.
Yeah.
But definitely that should be something to look out for.
100%. But yeah, if you made it this far, we really mess with you. I mean, I appreciate you taking the time. This is the first one in 2025.
Yeah.
Or second, depending on how we release it.
Who knows? Stay tuned.
It's one of the first ones. There we go. That's solved.
There you go.
So we appreciate you. We're definitely gonna have more conversations about this because I do think as we go through, some of these topics, we realize that we do need to have a space that challenges some of these. And I would like to have this conversation with some women, yeah, and see what they think, because I think at the core, what we have done is everyone's talking. Like, I'm talking to you about this, but we're not talking to women who feel this. Like, if we find women who feel this way, like, I want to understand exactly
if they're okay with the soft guy era, or if they feel like there's a problem.
What
with
is it like? What are, challenge some of these conversations, and probably what you realize is that we're not really too far in the extremes. There's a space in the middle that most people live in, but we've gotten so used to the extremes that's the thing. So we're gonna definitely try to have another conversation with this. So appreciate y'all making it this far. It's been Juxtaposed. Peace.